Bumblebees use different methods to collect pollen depending on how the flower is shaped. In his research, evolutionary biologist Charlie Woodrow has studied buzz pollination.
So we are all familiar with the process of pollination. Bees are one of our most efficient pollinators, collecting resources from flowers such as these in order to transport pollen between flowers and collect resources for themselves and their offspring. In a recent study, we looked at a type of pollination called buzz pollination, whereby instead of the bee brushing the pollen straight from the flower, it has to use the muscles in its thorax, which it uses for flight, and they contract these muscles very quickly, which causes the bee to vibrate. And as it does so, it shakes the pollen out of flowers with tube-shaped geometries. And how rapidly they vibrate these muscles and how loud their vibrations are affects how much pollen is released. We recently found that these vibrations are actually transmitted from the muscles in the thorax of the body of the bee to the head. And when this happens, the head moves backwards and forwards up to 400 times the acceleration of gravity, so really fast movements here. And as it does this, it bites onto the flower. And this allows the pollen to be released really rapidly compared to normal brushing against the flower or vibrations transmitted straight from the muscles themselves. And in this study, we used two different species of flower. So we have these small purple flowers here. This is a species known as Solanum dulcamara. And in this flower, all of these anthers, these are the yellow parts, are fused into a cone. So the bee bites this and the pollen comes out of the end here. But in the other flower that we investigated, it has much larger petals and it has these anthers of different sizes and shapes. And in fact, the bee bites all of these different anthers at the top individually, and these are known as the feeding anthers. Whereas the anther at the bottom, the bee doesn't collect pollen from, but it's a tactic the plant uses to put pollen on the back of the bee. So this means that the plant can ensure pollen is moved between different plants for the reproductive success of the flower.
When bumblebees buzz pollinate, they make an intense buzzing sound.
And we can demonstrate how this mechanism works with a tuning fork. So this tuning fork is tuned to 330 Hertz. So this is about the same pitch that a bee produces when it buzzes on a flower. And if we strike the tuning fork and move it against the flower, you can see the pollen being released.